capacity building for the future is the government, private sector, and academia. Academia, not a complex term, it is only Greek for schools, institutions of learning. Are they doing work effectively? Are they working together? So we're going to just have few people who have backgrounds in these areas, and they're going to tell us about what they think, whether we are really ready for the future that we want. So again, my name is MUNYI. A former engineering student. I'm in very diverse areas right now, but I'm going to ask a few gentlemen to graciously join me up on this stage. They are well prepared, well experienced, very well versed in the field of tech, the field of innovation, the field of entrepreneurship, and the field of marketing. So, I believe we're ready to start. And I'm not going to delay. We have had the topic for discussion this afternoon. And we intend not to take so long, ladies and gentlemen. What we hope to do is to have conversation that will last about 50 minutes to 1 hour. And after that, we're going to have a short Q&A session, which will allow us to engage with you and your questions, your comments, and your concerns concerning the topics which we're going to be discussing today. I'd also like to mention that these gentlemen who are here are not in such a rush that they will speed out of this place in their cars after the panel. So if you have identified any one of them who may have some knowledge that you require, please try and identify them in an orderly manner after the panel, and I'm sure they'll be able to answer one or two of their questions. I believe that this is what they're here to do. Am I right? Great. So, because I have not shared so much information about you guys, gentlemen, I'd like you to just give me a bit more information and give us a bit information about yourself. So I'm going to ask us, in this first section, some general questions. Okay? So these general questions will be for all the panelists. Now, tell us about yourselves. The question is, for each of the gentlemen, starting from my left, with the most senior professor, to going to right, what contribution, Professor BWISA, do you feel you are making towards innovation and technology in Kenya today?
Thank you very much. What contributions am I making? So what are my contributions? One, I thought that our Vice Chancellor will be here and BWISA will be here. I hope they will come, maybe there are representatives here. I have refused to follow the traditional methods of teaching and examining students. Students who go through me must produce an innovation. It doesn't matter whether you are in HR or in computer or in PPIT. You know that your examination will be an innovation that will present us as an exam, and that's what I mark. And I want to say that for that matter, quite a number of my students have come out very productive in that area. I use a small technique called Scamper, for those who know it. But if you don't know it, visit my YouTube, Henry BWISA, and you'll see some of my students giving testimonies. So my contribution is through teaching and refusing the traditional way of examining where you come and write written exam. No, you come with an innovation ready for you to go and use in the field. And afford the war. I thought the Vice Chancellor would be here so that I demonstrate that I think I've made more contribution that way than setting what's innovation, define innovation, discuss the factors that affect innovation in Kenya. I don't go that way. So that, I would say, is part of my little contribution towards innovation in the country. I'm also the chairman of African Agribusiness Incubators Network. So I do it even at a global, a continental level. but that could be a story for another day. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's worthy of applause. As you have heard, I am indeed a product, and that's why you can call Professor Babayao. But at the same time, he has a YouTube channel. I wonder how many of us, even at our young age, have a YouTube channel. So old meets new when it comes to Professor. So the rest of us, yeah, quickly, let's move.
I guess that's me. Okay, first of all, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Stephen GUGU, as mentioned earlier, and maybe I'll just mention just a quick introduction, then what I do for innovation. So I do three things. One is I'm an entrepreneur, so I run a business. It's called Investia, and I think some of the business students here may be aware we run a financial modeling competition, and I think we were here probably 2 months ago. The business, what it does, it works with investors and entrepreneurs and tries to link the two of them to be able to obtain capital and to be able to get entrepreneurs to the level where they are ready for capital. The second thing I do is that I teach. I teach at Strathmore Business School. So I'm happy that Prof is here also, so you can share some educational jokes. And I teach in the area of private equity and venture capital, which is all about working with investors to be able to appreciate businesses. And the third thing I do is that I invest. We run an angel network, and we invest in early stage tech opportunities, which are at least 1 year old with a bit of traction in the market. And through these, then we work with investors and try to put them together to be able to make investments in early stage opportunities. And so when you ask what would be my contribution around the innovation space, TAMBRE is one of my contributions. Between the years 2012 coming all the way till 2014, we worked a lot with different incubators on areas of training, on entrepreneurship, coaching, mentoring, and through that we worked with probably over 500 entrepreneurs through the MLab, IBs, and so forth, the different incubators in the country. And it's actually that experience and knowledge that pushed us to the other side to say, we're working with entrepreneurs, but how do they scale their business? You can train, coach, and do everything else, but the key thing is, can people get some seed capital to start their business or to move their businesses forward? So that's the area I've been spending a lot of time, and within that space then I work a lot with angel investors and entrepreneurs, trying to get people to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name is Frank Tambre. Bit about myself and backstory. It's true, I'm actually a product of Steven. So
he's another Baba.
Yes, he's another Baba. Baba. So like seriously, I remember that time I was just fascinated with the whole thing of starting companies, but like we spent like 4 or 5 months with him, and the thing that kept on being drummed to us was the code and the tech is easy. The going out there and meeting customers and doing your research is the hard part. So, and luckily I listened, and he is entirely responsible for me not seeking for employment after I worked the first time. So if you ever see me not looking for a job, you know the person, so you can blame him 100%. But trust you me, it's been amazing. So a bit about myself is, yes, it's true, I also teach people, mentor guys and inspire, and then, but I decided to focus on not the people at university level. I'm actually going to where the seeds need to be planted from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 years old. And the kids I have currently, there are 12 kids, and they are brilliant. So I've worked with them from February till now. If they are to talk on this stage right now, you'd be shocked, and you'd probably think they are not from around here. But they're really doing amazing things, so I'm really happy for that thing that they're doing right now. So hopefully, we probably might have the first true millionaires or billionaires by 18, 19, or 20, and that is surely going to happen in the next 8 to 10 years. So just watch out, you'll see them. And apart from that is I make games. I make games for fun. So currently I'm working on a couple of titles. Then, yes, so what contribution am I making is, as I said earlier, I looked at where the problem was from women in tech, I don't know, tech, and all these startup problems that guys are having is I realized that we are catching students too late. So the seeds or their foundations, they've already been set. So me trying to convince someone right now, hey, leave this, go out there and talk to the field, is unless it will hit them several times, get experience, then they'll wake up doing their fourth or fifth business, they'll say, I'll actually go out and look for customers. Then they'll do it. So I decided to focus on those very young guys. So I have a couple of mature guys who I'm also teaching and mentoring. And for them is, you really have to sign up and agree, we'll work on the basics. For me, once you do the basics and we align your character, that's it. I mean, you're good to go. I really don't need to care about the other places. So now we can take you to Akina Steven to give you that money once you have gotten to know what are the basics that we need currently. So for me, it's that. I really need to look at fundamentals and basics. There are so many people playing in the upper space, which is okay. They don't need to calm down. They're really doing a fantastic job at the upper space. For me, I'm only passionate and interested in these other people to give them the fundamentals peke yake. So that's it. And yeah, I'm currently working on my second institute that is probably going to launch sometime next year in the middle of the year. So that's the thing.
Wow, that's very exciting. Thank you. And finally, the one who's alphabetically most senior.
My name is Chris, and I think I'll be as good as my name. Back in the university at Nairobi, my professors taught me economics. But I'm here in the capacity of a digital marketer, but I taught myself when I came out here in the market. So at Nation Media Group, our work, what we do as what our moderator has asked, ours is to go out, look for stories, give them a voice, so that the other person on the other end of the world knows what is happening where, what is being said where. And we here in that capacity as partners, we come and see what brilliant minds are doing. And I do hope that at the end of the day, those brilliant innovations that we have seen here, they'll be able to get a platform and be heard elsewhere, that they do not get there. Then in terms of myself as Chris, what I do is I make sure that Daily Nation, NTV, Business Day gets visibility in the digital space. May it be on Facebook, YouTube, on the web. So as a digital marketer, that's the work of somebody like Chris. Making sure that all those platforms are getting visibility and they are reaching people. And lastly, for those who maybe want to have a little background of what Chris does or what a digital marketer does, all you can do is, as Professor asked you to Google about the first Expo, just go on Google for the term digital marketers in Kenya. You'll see the entire journey of Chris. You can be sure Chris will come in the first 3 results. So in a nutshell, I promised that brief and share.
Thank you very much, Chris. I mean, do you think the panel is qualified? More than qualified, definitely, and I think so as well. So thank you very much, gentlemen, and I'm going to move quickly to the matter at hand. General question again for you guys about the direction which you think Kenya is heading in terms of innovation, okay? Do you think, in your opinion, that Kenya is ready for the future? What's coming, I mean, in the world?
From the experience of handling innovations, especially in the Kenyan ecosystem, I know some of you may be familiar with a program that Nation Media Group has been doing called The Next Big Thing, that we had together with partners like Climate Innovation Center and Strathmore University. What happens is that through the journeys we studied that when we started, there were few participation of ideas outside tech, like agriculture, like health, there were very few. But as we have advanced, the numbers are growing. The participation of ladies, for instance, used to be less than 5% when we started. You'll now go, as I've seen from the exhibition booths, you'll see some more lady innovators. And that is very encouraging. So that coupled by the infrastructure that the private sector is putting in place, for instance, the affordability and availability and accessibility of the internet, the government policies, and the changes within the curriculum in the institutions, those are the environment that is really helping us get so much more into entrepreneurship and into innovation. So I can say, yes, Kenya is going in the right direction. And if you look at, say, for instance, the tech hubs in Kenya compared to Nigeria and our brothers, Uganda and South Africa, Kenya is really doing well. So I can say, yes, we are going in the right direction.
Thank you very much. I'll ask Frank to add.
So, yes, I agree with what he said. The only thing that I keep on having right now is like a very big word of caution. So, because of my experience, so I actually didn't do tech in campus. I was doing Bachelor of Arts. So, and then when I did Bachelor of Arts, I used to have a lot of time in my hands. I mean, I was not social per se. I could talk to people, but I was not social. So I'd attend like every other class, and I learned a couple of things, like that skill of observing stuff and analyzing stuff. So the only caution I'd have is one thing. I think there's something like a bubble, and anyone who's familiar with a bubble, whether you like physics or whatever, you'll know like a bubble has a definite period of time before it bursts. My fear is there's a lot of like many people coming in and like, yeah, we're having all this, so many stuff like competitions, and I'm really happy with like what Steven said. They don't invest in anything that has not done 1 year. Because like, okay, so you've not done 1 year, you want us to give you money to go and do what exactly? And like the bubble that I'm talking about is this. Most people don't want to sit down and actually focus on the core things, the basic things. Like if you start something, it's a business. So bottom line is there's profit, there's loss, there's cost, there's expenses, there is customers. Customers, people don't want to talk to them. They don't go and get customers. It's, I want to get money quickly, best way, there's a competition, join, win money, that's it. And I'm really happy with some certain things that are happening. Like for instance, when Prof was saying, the thing was simple. Get those guys from outside, bring them with these guys from here in Kenya. I'm sure you're challenged. If you're to start anything right now, your mind is not the way someone else is reasoning. So I feel like the bubble we need to have like that word of caution in the sense we are headed in the right direction. My fear is there's a lot of hype surrounding the whole startup ecosystem where we want to sit down because I can quickly code something, release it out there, but no one is interested in going beyond that.
Steve?
So I have a couple of thoughts. I generally agree with what have been said, but I have exceptions. So I'm going to look at this maybe from different facets. The first one is about openness. I think as a country, we have the advantage that it's a very open country. Yeah? And so if you move to the different hubs, if you go to, I don't know, iHub, IBs, whatever, you'll find there's a lot of also experts who've come into the country. And the reason I like that to a certain extent is that we've learned to be very competitive. Because there's countries where things are very closed, and so you feel like you're doing well, but in actual sense you're not, because you're not competing with the best. So I like the fact that as Kenyans, we are being forced to compete with the best, and the guys were coming on top consistently. The next week I'm attending a conference in Cape Town, and it's looking at the top innovators who've been funded by World Bank, and they're going to be showcasing their innovations in South Africa. And out of the guys who are there, I think there's probably 2 or 3 businesses which are from Kenya. And I'm talking about indigenous Kenyans, not just people who live in Kenya. And so to that extent, we are going in the right direction because we end up coming at the top. The other aspect that I think is interesting to mention is about the area of education. And I'm very happy that Prof has mentioned the kind of work he's doing in terms of pushing students to do stuff that is relevant in the market, as opposed to just, you churn your innovation document, what is innovation, what are the characteristics of innovation, what are the advantages, which doesn't mean anything in the larger scale of things. But we need more lecturers doing that, because I think if you look at most of the lecturers, they're still in that age of just define, do what, and not the practical bits of things. And so there I feel there's a challenge, and I speak about this from experience because I teach at Strathmore, where most people, most lecturers, maybe partly also because of their lack of experience in the practical world, are very comfortable in the academic side, and at times that doesn't necessarily result in the best trained people to address the kind of challenges we are seeing in the market. And that's why once people finish universities, TAMBRE didn't mention, used to run an innovation school where we teach people how to code. People have to go through that school, which they should be learning in universities. By the time they're coming out, they should be able to come up with different innovative topics and so forth. So I think that's an important note, that in education, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. The other sort of like general things is about this commercialization. Commercialization is, so you have a brilliant idea, all those guys who are exhibiting out there. So how do they move from interesting, cool idea to, I'm gonna put in cash into this, it's gonna go to the market. I mean, there's a guy who has a digital stethoscope. How do we move that digital stethoscope, for argument's sake, to the hospitals? Yeah, and that's where I feel we're really missing the point as an economy. If you go to Kirdi, if you go to Ilri, I mean, there's so many innovations which are there, but moving those things from the labs into the real world, that's one big challenge, because they need financing, they need a lot of work, but as an economy, I feel that's an area that we're still lacking and a lot needs to be done. And hence this space around angel investing that we're really interested in. Can we get more local-based people to put in cash in our own innovations? Because we have this mentality as a country, yeah, where we like donor money a lot. We like when foreigners have come in to invest in businesses. But if we don't, if all our cash, as I mean, many investors, is in real estate, it is in bonds, who's going to invest in the next big idea? Yeah? So I'm very happy when you see projects like KCB, Lions Den, and so forth, which are trying to get investors to think about some of these things. So the commercialization angle, we still need to do a bit of work around that. I'm going to stop there and pass this to Prof.
Thank you.
I want to really support what my colleagues have said, like they have been taking words out of my mouth. But I want to add that as much as we're doing so, I will describe the situation as a glass half full. We're half full. We're not yet there. There are some roadblocks, particularly in the area of policy implementation. Yes, we have good, very good infrastructure for technology. We have good policy intentions. You have mentioned about the systems. We are every time experimenting. 8.4 is now gone. We're having 3 to whatever. We're going towards that direction. But we still have some gray areas in terms of supporting our innovators. This IP, intellectual property process in Kenya is pretty difficult and very expensive. You students here, I think 2 or 3 of mine we have now applied for patenting the innovation they made before we even bring them here. But the cost of patenting is not very favorable to students. I was talking to Engineer Kariuki, who is in IP section of this university, and I said, why don't we come up with a model like the HELP, the Higher Education Loan Board? So we help our students, we pay for that innovation fee, and when they start generating money, they pay just like you pay back your loan. That is, to me, could be a favorable policy to support our innovation. We have quite a number. We'd even be having our own aeroplane, Kenyan-made aeroplane, if that Nyeri gentleman, Kadamba, who started one and flew and I think even collapsed, crashed, and he now works with her, but was never supported. This guy with the radio station, because somebody was saying they were infringing on VOK. That time it was not KBC, it was VOK. They were infringing, local policies to support our local innovations are not yet. And why? Because as much as we have what we call the SME policy, we don't have an entrepreneurship policy. I'm working also towards that. We're writing an entrepreneurship policy is pretty different from the small and micro enterprise policy. When you come out of with your innovation, you're going to start SMEs, but it is not as inclusive in terms of, so I would say we are on the right track. We can make strides, but we still have some hurdles in terms of policy implementation, and really incentives.
I think we can all agree and get behind what the Professor has said, that the process between coming up with an innovation, protecting it, and bringing it to market in terms of commercialization can definitely be shortened in Kenya. I think all the gentlemen who are here will agree with that point, and I think the people who are in the audience stand to benefit if that process is made faster. So thank you very much for your comments already. So we have ended the general questions, which all the panelists were going to answer. And now we're going to ask some questions in specific areas which are surrounding the topic which we have today of capacity building for the future. And really, when you talk about the future, the first thing we're going to be talking about is, Africa. Because we are all of this continent, whether we live here or we were born here. And the question of Africa's future is contentious. It's a very widely spoken, widely debated topic in the world. And so when you talk about this topic, Africa's innovation for the future, I'm going to ask, we're actually going to begin with Professor once again. And I'm also going to bring in Bwana TAMBRE, if he has any ideas, to answer a question that asks, what innovations do you say that the continent really needs? What kind of innovations do you think Africa is looking for?
Yes, indeed, you have said Africa is unique, and I will add that Africa is uniquely agricultural. We actually are the granary in terms of food for the world. And therefore, if we invest in the agricultural value chain, innovations along the agricultural value chain, and when you're talking about agricultural value chain, it is like from the farm to the on the table. And in between, you will find that there are all sectors involved. You'll need the drones, for example, to walk around, to move around and do irrigation. You'll need transportation, mechanical engineering. You'll need energy. You'll need literally every sector, every faculty in this university, every degree in this university can contribute to agriculture. So if we say our policy is to modernize our agriculture through the agricultural value chain, and we give a policy, mechanical engineers come up with those innovations that contribute to that, I think we will be going in the right direction. So in my opinion, concentrate on agri-value chain, and you'll see that all the other sectors and any innovation that supports the agricultural value chain, it has what we call a multiplier effect. Let's teach farmers on how to produce charcoal briquettes from the agro waste residues, the stalks. After we harvest our maize, then we carbonize those stalks to become charcoal briquettes. Look at it that you'll be using. The extruders, the presses, the carbonization, it comes back to, they say, the energy sector, the environmental sector, and all that. So that, in my opinion, should be our concentration. Identify our comparative advantage in that value chain, and all other technologies, all other innovations will just come on the stage.
Thank you very much, Professor BWISA. I think a key word there is comparative. Thank you very much for that. Frank, would you like to come in?
Yes. So personally, I hold the following views. I feel like if we are to move to the next level for the whole of Africa and everything, I wouldn't say I'm old, but I think I'm old enough. And being at at IBIS, there's something that I've learned over time. It's every person who comes from like a specific sector, they like isolating themselves. So for instance, if you have mechanical engineering students who come up with something that deals in health, they don't want to bring in a health person to be part of the team. People need to remember something. Tech is an enabler of, tech is not the absolute solution. Tech is an enabler of something. Fintech, it's, you need to know some finance so that you build a solution in it. Agriculture, if you're producing something in agriculture, same thing. Like know something in it, and then that's it. If you need to bring that cross, is really good for us. And if you think the people that want to leave Africa and go and stay in other countries, you should ask yourself, there are people, white people are coming to Africa and they're not visiting, if that's what you thought they are doing. This is colonization 2.0. It's happening, we are not seeing it, and that's it. 2 of the biggest, or 3 of the biggest lending platforms in Kenya right now. 3. You'd start with Mshwari, you'd touch about branch, you talk about Tala. Tala is not African. Tala is New York, it's America. Branch is American. What are we doing? We are chilling. It's happening. They are coming, they are meeting African people, they are sitting down in Kibera, they are going to the farms, they're doing the stuff. We don't want to do the hard work, we want to do the lazy work, the glamorous one. And I feel like if we are to relate in like different, so like subsystems, get that person who is doing engineering. Like here, engineering is perfect. Don't think outside JKUAT, go to Strathmore. They're doing a lot of business stuff. Meet the business people, talk to them. IBIS is open, I mentor there. Linda is here also. Talk to her. She'll tell you, hey, in fact, I think she's the most open person towards receiving people who need help. I think she does a better job than myself anyway, so yeah. But she really does an amazing job. You just go to her and say, hey, I have this solution and whatever, and I need help. Like that. She hooks you up with other people who are doing business. And you guys get to work hard on this solution. So I feel like farming is there. People are coming up with solutions in health, people are coming up with solutions in finance, but they are not going to the other fields. So I wouldn't point at one area. I would say, I think every person needs to connect, and then let's sit down and work. And I think that cross-section would really, really help us a lot.
Wow, thank you very much. I think what comes to me from what you have said is that a lot of foreigners, and I think I've seen it, a lot of foreigners are coming to live and work in Africa by choice, and they are, what's setting them apart is they are willing to go further than we are, to be honest. I know organizations that are based in Kenya whose headquarters are not in Nairobi. So thank you very much, Frank. And I'm going to stick with you because the next question is asking, do you think the tech and innovation space, companies, organizations, startups, everything, in Kenya needs more employees or more employers?
Employers any day. And I'd say that because it's employers, but we need I'd say employers on adrenaline or something like that. And the reason why I'd say that is so many people like the idea of entrepreneurship, but they are not willing to put in the work to entrepreneurship. We need employers, but we don't need jokers. There's something that he has a colleague, his name is Aaron Cohen. He told us something. He said, if you really want to start a very small thing like a joke, if your 2 legs are not in it, just quit, write a CV, apply for a job. It's easier. Sort it out. This is the employer's bit is what we need, and I think most people need to wake up to that reality and put in, I think, that extra effort that they need. And yeah, I think that's the only thing that they need. So we need employers, but we need a different breed of entrepreneurs right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
So I wanted to just add one thing. We need employers on steroids, and you also need employees for a bit of time who can become employers. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that's an interesting point.
Just one line. I know we are running out of time, but there's somebody called Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said that developing nations will not develop via mass production, but they will develop via production by the masses. Not mass production, but production by the masses, meaning large industry that must produce and employ may not be our route. And that's why the SME sector in India is superb. Everybody's now looking for them. If we had that philosophy, not mass production, by production by the masses, that is contributing towards allowing or enabling the masses also to produce, and they have to become employers, and it has worked in quite a number of places.
We're going to talk about digital marketing, which is one of really the most, it's one of the bright avenues for marketing because it has many advantages over the more established forms of marketing. And we are very fortunate because Chris has a vast experience in that field. And so we're going to ask him one question, maybe 1.5 questions, but really the first one, and this is out of just pure curiosity on my part. A lot of these guys have applications, and I know computer applications, web applications, software applications have been a rich part of the Tech Expo for a number of years. And of course, the tech, all the hubs, there's vastly more software solutions than anything else. Maybe because software is startup, the capital to enter software is not that much from a developer's standpoint of view. But I want to ask, do these applications make money in Kenya?
I will start with the bad news. Bad news is
bad news.
Yes. The bad news is the report that is out there is that 80% of the apps in the marketplace or in the App Store are not in use. They are deleted the second day of download. You download today, tomorrow is deleted. Only 20% are in use. So now here comes a question of, are they making money? So I think how to answer yourself is, what is in these 20% of apps that get retained by the users? Even yourself, you have like 50 apps, but you'll find you use less than 20% of the apps that you have. So the question is, it goes back to the technical guys and what we've just been told by Steve, that what problem are you trying to solve? Is your app creating an experience? Is it answering a certain question or a certain problem in someone's life? So that then you're able to make money. Now, there are different ways of making money from an app. An app may be offering a service like paying and stuff, but there are those other apps that make money out of advertising. So again, it will depend on what model you are into. So I'll try to go into the model of advertising. The model of advertising, in the year 2019, the amount of revenue that will be spent on buying online ads, and especially the social media ads, will be more than the amount of money that will be spent in buying advertising. In a newspaper, business we are into. We are into mobile apps, as mentioned with the group, and we are into newspaper because we can simply see what the trend is. So yes, the future is very bright, but it's a question of how well you make your app. But then there's a question of how you market your app. I don't know what you want me to answer.
That's the next question. I just want Frank to come in and ask and answer that second, the same one.
Okay, so on people making money from apps, I'll tell you something, and this is a fight I am personally having with Google right now. So Google on the Android Play Store is like, they have accepted South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt. Those are the only countries in Africa where a developer can sell apps or integrate something called a merchant account that can allow you to collect money from there. If you have to collect money, like the way I do, is I'm using very crude methods. Now, are developers making money? I'd say yes and no. Like he said, you see that 20%, out of the 20%, it's probably like 2 to 3% of people making money. And people who want to integrate ads is not a way of making money. I'll tell you the truth. the ads that people talk about, the banners and whatever. Right now on the Play Store, if you make an app and someone just sees an ad at the bottom or it pops up, 1-star review, they uninstall it and they tell every other person. So if I come to your app, I'll see ads, too many ads. They'll say too many ads, they'll uninstall. There are better ways of integrating ads into applications right now. I'm talking from a games perspective, where you play to a certain level, and then if you fail, I'll give you an option of a video and tell you, hey, watch this video. So that's how I make my money. And the problem is, it's not a lot of money. I need like a certain threshold. When 1,000 people view it, then I make $5. So tell me, if my app has 500 downloads, you see the problem? So here's what I'll say, it's not, with the place of making money from apps, your app has to be really good, really good, and people are using it, so that now you can start making money from it. I mean, this is it's a conversation that can take up to 2 hours. So
that's a whole panel, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I know, I think that's a whole panel, and I think that panel needs to be available and availed to all of us, because I'm listening and I'm learning. By the way, I'm learning. And I hope everyone is learning and taking notes, because this is critical. How can I market, digitally or otherwise, effectively?
Thanks so much, Anthony. I want to say that this month I've been very lucky to have been invited in 2 universities the past 2 weeks. So last Saturday, I was at the University of Nairobi talking to the master's class in research class. And the question was, how can researchers leverage on digital? We have all the platforms on our exposure. If you understand where the platform, where to place, then you will be able to market your product online so effectively. So digital gives us a lot of leverage, a lot of data, and I believe this breed of guys are guys who are very good at data analysis, be able to leverage on that. And lastly, I would like to refer to analytics that I have. Is that out of the 47 million guys that we have in Kenya's population, we are told that 2 million of them have access to the internet. And out of these guys, we are told that 20% of them are active on social media. And about 85% of them access from mobile. So once you have these metrics with you, then you definitely know, based on your product attributes and who they target, you know which avenues to leverage without even spending so much. So I think that's the best way I can summarize it. Lastly, because of skills, the skills gap, what happens is that Facebook, Google, and all these other players have created a lot of information to educate you how you can do it yourself. And for us media, I think that is one of our biggest threats, because these guys are giving you a lot of power. There's a lot of democratization, empowering you how to do it yourself without you coming to look at TV and advertising stuff on TV or Daily Nation. So I think, guys, that's one thing I would say, you have an advantage.
Well, thank you so much, Chris and Frank, for illuminating us. I think we have learned a lot, that we may want to think that Facebook is the answer, Google is the answer, but it's not always. I mean, you need to just be more keen, more knowledgeable. I think one thing I've learned from what Chris has said is you really need to know your client. I think you need to know everywhere your client is. You need to know everything your client wants, so that you know where to get them. So thank you, guys. I would like to challenge you, maybe in summary and a closing remark, to give advice to these innovators in terms of their outlook for life, and maybe if they're looking to branch out on their own and not seek employment. Whatever thoughts are coming to your mind right now, just one sentence. That's the challenge. Just, if you're to give a piece of advice, the kind of advice somebody gives on their last breaths, you have one sentence to give. So the challenge is to, if you can, one sentence.
Support your network. That's what I would give.
Think globally, start big, and your network is equal to your net worth. Tweet that. JQuat Tech Expo 8. Thank you.
In one sentence, I would say challenge status quo. And can I just explain what I mean?
Frank has mentioned about work, but I find that you can short-circuit the system. I mean, Samuel, the question you asked, there's ways to short-circuit the system. If you follow status quo, you'll just join the queue. So, you know, challenge status quo. Always be asking, can we do this differently?
Lastly, Prof.
Good. You just have to believe in yourself, one, and always think that you are the best. Immediately you think you are the best, you will not allow anybody to come surpass you. But if they do, then you say, why did they do it? I thought I was the best, and you'll keep moving.
Thank you so much.
But thank you so much, even for you know, keeping time with us, and we are thankful to you. So we have come to the end of this panel session, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you all for being a part of this, because without you, these 5 men have nothing to do on this stage. And I also want to really appreciate each and every one of these panelists. I think that their experience is best used when it is shared with others, so that, as Chris was saying earlier, we're not moving alone, but we're moving with others. My hope for this Expo, as now this is the last time you'll see me speaking, is twofold. I really hope that the great projects we have seen outside on that display floor, first of all, will not die here. I hope this is not the last time you'll hear about them. And number 2, I pray that somebody in this room will work, not for their own gain, but for the gain of the continent, and think and live with others in mind, because I think that's how this continent is going to grow. So thank you so much. We pray that you'll have a good lunch, a good afternoon, and enjoy the rest of the conference.